Interwebs, LinkedIn, YouTube. Welcome to Man vs. Tech with Chris Pettigrew, Kyle Souza. It's good to be back on the Man vs. Tech webinar, webcast, web podcast, pod something, right? Whatever.
All the things.
All the things. Find us on YouTube. Check us out on LinkedIn. For those of you that are live viewing today, welcome to our Man vs. Tech. Today we're talking about finding ways of automation, right? In your workflow or workflow automation.
Finding opportunities for automation.
Awesome, man. I'm really excited about the automation out there. Man vs. Tech has been showing a lot of stuff with automation. As usual, we're always talking about technology. So today we're going to kick off and we're going to actually talk about some tech news. So let's share one of our screens and we'll get into...
I think you have to go to window.
Oh, maybe I just bring it up, huh? Here.
Oh, if you minimize it, it won't let you share it. Click on the window and then click the restore down so that it's not maximized. Just that one. Yeah. All right, now bring the other window up, and now it should let us, if we go over to window. Okay, I don't have an answer on that then.
I got an answer.
Yeah, that should work.
Wait, I guess we need the other one, don't we? There we go.
There we go. Where there's a will, there's a way.
All right. So today we're talking Apple iPhone 14 Pro and Watch Ultra. Kyle, you brought this up. We want to be able to, share something with somebody. So we got new releases of phones. It's not just about the camera.
It's not.
Right. So
a lot of people making jokes about all they did was add a camera.
Yeah, look, they moved it from this to this to that to that, and now we have a 14 out. No, there's actually some cool new tech in here. So what do we know about the new iPhone and the iPhone 1 and the iWatch that's coming out?
Yeah, so they have further integrated artificial intelligence into the operating system. There does require new hardware for some of that, advanced accelerometer, better temperature tracking, so that it can track everything from car accidents to ovulation cycles. Wide spectrum of things between the watch and the phone that are now being powered by AI to give people insights, on their body that they may not be aware of. It does temperature tracking, and that factors into the ovulation, but it also factors into sleep cycles, health patterns. When are you overheating? Those kinds of things. So it can help with heat stroke and whatnot. Then with the car accidents, there may be, with the advanced accelerometer, more than just being in a bad accident, jerking to a stop, things like that can have effects that you may not realize necessarily how rough you're treating your body. And this can help mitigate some of that, or at least inform you when you're like, man, why am I so sore? Well, you slammed on the brake 14 times yesterday. Might be some whiplash. Anything on that scale. There's a lot in between, and of course that they are making the deal about the camera, and but even the new low light functions and everything that they tout with the camera are AI assisted to help give that clarity without simply lightening. Right? We've moved beyond the first stage of improvements now to further stages of it, where we're improving on past improvements.
Yeah, I can tell you the phone cameras themselves have come, in the last 10, 15 years, just cameras in general, what you can do with your phone, low lighting, slow motion capture, multi-video and video imaging, and the palm of your hand compared to when I used to sell digital cameras, literally you would have to buy a digital camera and it didn't even do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, the editing is built right into the picture. It'll auto do some stuff. I mentioned Ritz camera the other day to somebody as a store that was in a mall nearby.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was 2 decades ago that it was there, but still there was one. And it's like, yes, we used to have dedicated stores for photography.
There was.
And now we have higher quality lenses in our hand all the time.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my kids are young, so, they're in school. And we get the school pictures, and I don't even buy them. I have so many pictures of my kids from my phone that are better than those school pictures. You send them to school and you dress them nice, and you hope that everything goes good, and then you end up paying $100 for the package, and you get a weird smile, or the hair is messed up, or food's all over the clothing, and I can tell you that I just the other day we just drove around Houston. My kids wanted to take a picture in front of a bull, and it was a great picture. It was perfect. I can go in there and edit it, zoom into it, take out the bull itself. There's even stuff where you're starting to be able to get into both Samsung and iPhones to where you can even edit out things in the background. So like, what would they call that when like a person gets taken the picture?
You get a photo bomb in there.
The photo bomb in there. You can remove the photo bomb, which is Adobe Photoshop type of stuff in the palm of your hand. So. I think it's really interesting to talk about the car crash, the health, especially. I'm a Samsung user myself, and a lot of people use Apple. I see a lot of the same things on here. I use the Samsung Watch. It does body mass index, oxygen sensing. That's become a big thing. Blood pressure monitoring, blood oxygen level. Especially since COVID. Workouts, you can track your eating schedules, how much water intake you have, total health, your sleep. It can monitor whether you snore or not, whether you have sleep apnea. All this stuff is starting to come out in our electronics. To talk about car crashes, that's very interesting that something rough could happen, or with the watch it could go through something and automatically give you an opportunity to talk. I also think about the backside of that, to where there's been things that I've had my watch on, and all of a sudden a workout will start, but I'm not really working out. I'm doing something that's not a workout, but my movement caused it to auto start it. And I wonder if, you were to go out there, and do you need to set it to tennis mode, so that way when you're hitting a tennis ball, it doesn't think a car crash is happening, and there,
maybe
911's getting called instantly, and you're like, what are you talking about? I'm just playing a tennis game. So how far can they go with all this stuff at the end of the day? And then at the same time, what comes about it by the days of, or the human interaction or usage of this cool technology. It sounds cool, and it's going to be cool, but when humans get a hold of things, they always tend to mess them up. And
they do. But also, I mean, the price tag on the Apple Watch is going to be $800.
$800 for a watch. Well, there we go.
I mean, I'm going to have some high expectations if I were to pay $100 for a watch.
Absolutely. It's not just a watch. I think that, again, to me, this isn't a phone anymore. These are phones. This is to me, a personal computing device.
It is.
That I can talk to people on multiple ways. The phone is an app as far as the rest of this goes.
Right. The phone's not the main function.
The phone is not the main function. So it's kind of like saying I'm watching television. Do we watch television, or do you stream YouTube TV?
Yep.
I do. That's what I do. I have Xfinity or YouTube. I like YouTube TV. It's one of them. I stream information. I don't really watch television at the end of the day.
And it doesn't have to be on that device anymore.
Yeah, not necessarily. Is my TV still a television?
Yeah. That's what we call it, a TV, because that's what we've always called it. We call this a phone because that's what we've always called it. But like you said, it's just an app.
It really is. Everything's streamed at my house to an LED television. Why do I call it a television? The television, something over the air going to it so you can see it.
Because that's
kind of the same. Kind of the same Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we all called it. We haven't changed the name yet. So for all of us out there who still living, we're still keeping up with the old school television, phone, telephone.
Yes.
Wonder what the next 2-3 generations will call these devices. Grab your device, answer your device. I don't know. Who knows, right? Always fun to have those conversations.
I was thinking, what was it? Fahrenheit 451. They didn't have TVs; they had walls. They just called it the wall, and it was the whole wall was a screen.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I haven't used a telephone
Yeah.
on my wall at my house or a landline, and
Oh yeah.
couldn't even tell you.
None of this goes over wires, right?
No.
It's all cellular.
Yeah, there may be wires that some things happen out there in the field or whatnot for communication, but you're right. It's all cellular and it keeps improving. Now we're at 5G. Wait till 6, 7, 8, 9, 10G. We'll start having Gs like we have iPhones. So you get 14G with your iPhone 14. We'll see how that goes. So that's the tech news for today. Always fun to listen to Kyle and I chat about our thoughts on things and get into some side conversations about that. So Kyle, today we're talking about finding automation and how we can find automation or apply automation or finding it through our workflows. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I think of looking for ways to automate things, there's a couple strategies. It's going to stay strategeries, but there's a couple strategies that you can approach. One is to ask, what is something that I do on a regular basis, right? Just what's something that you're doing every day, every week, every month? What is one of those things that maybe is very repetitive, right? So you've got that. Another one is, what's something that if you had, and actually you're the one who likes this phrasing, or came up with this phrasing, if you had another you, or if you had an intern, what would you have them do?
Yeah.
What would you take off your plate?
I would take off the mundane tasks I get stuck doing that, to me, I don't want to say it's a time waster, but a necessary evil of a process I must do.
Yes.
So, it would be nice to have something that would probably keep my bills in for me, and I wouldn't have to do that. Just pay them.
Yes.
I have a person to do that now, but would I rather have a robot?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Why not? I think the person can be useful for something else. Those menial type of, I don't want to say maybe menial jobs, but do we really need to have humans hand keying simple information into technology so we can do a next step?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where my head is right now with workflow automation, to kind of identify those long-standing situations and or roadblocks that you might run into. So an ability of training. Maybe someone doesn't know how to use the software properly. They know a limited about how to use the software. And we're stuck with the human's ability to understand that software. Whereas, could you use RPA to run entire processes? And, yes, we have to probably change some things using RPA. Yes, we have to update things to some software. But at the end of the day, most softwares don't change that much during, at least from the release to release.
Right.
And so I could have a whole year of invoice keying into QuickBooks with just from scan, IDP, extract, or just maybe even using some of our vendors that are out there that you can literally put an invoice into and it reads it and then starts to RPA it right into your system. So, workflow automation is really cool. And for the small business owner, for the independent people that are out there, you either hire a bunch of people to work around you, or you come up with automation and technology that makes you more powerful. And now you can run your business with a smaller scale group of people.
Yeah. And then the last criteria that I like to think of is, what's that job that you dread doing? Maybe it's really hard. Maybe it's really complicated. So it doesn't come readily for automation, but you don't have to automate the whole thing.
Right.
You can automate parts of it. And maybe by taking that big job and breaking it down. So I was just thinking maybe we'd go through a couple examples of each of those 3 different ways of thinking about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Help anybody watching maybe get some ideas of things to think about. So what are those repetitive tasks that we do every day? We've got, or every week or every month, whatever it is. For one, report making, right? Whether it's, what was it from Office Space?
The TPS reports.
TPS reports.
TPS
reports.
They're due today, every Friday.
That's right.
I need you to come in on Saturday to work on them.
So, we've got these reports. Maybe in oil and gas, we've got, acreage or expiration reports that we've got to update. Maybe we do it, run them at the end of every month for the next 3 months, or, something along those lines. Is there a way to automate these reports? And then once the report gets automated, send them out to people. Who do they need to go to? Where do they need to go? So you automate that. And there's just the idea of once you see a barrier, if you think of your goal as a barrier and you reach that barrier and you get on top of it, what's the next barrier you see? So the first is, can we auto generate those reports on the regular schedule without somebody having to go click things?
Yes.
And so, yeah, we can. And then can we send those to all the necessary people that need to get it, or put it on the FTP side, or, can that be automated, the distribution of it?
Right.
And then are there any actions that could be automated? In the event of, I'll keep using oil and gas reports. Let's say you have an expiration report. Well, everything that has an option to extend on it, that is, maybe you can define certain areas, certain parameters that, hey, if we have a report that is generated that has an option to extend on a lease that's within a certain area,
right,
it automatically gets sent over to the accounting system for approval.
Absolutely. Anything you can do to quickly report accurate information to your boss, your client, yourself, we're monitoring whatever you're doing out there. And I think that's what we're all doing, is we're monitoring something using a software, or creating something using a software and application. Even more today, apps are coming into play. But at the end of the day, those reports are the lifeblood of all of your work product. So, spending more time on the quality of work product and less time on reporting that work product, would make that more accurate. I would think, if I had to spend 6 hours of my day doing something and 2 hours of my day reporting it, and I could get rid of the 2 hours and get that back and doing more work, I'm probably going to gain efficiency 10, 20, 30 more percent, on top of whatever I'm already doing, because I have more time to think, or I'm not stuck within a time boundary to get something done. Where do mistakes happen? From the creators of the input. Somebody saying, get this done within an hour, get this done within a day. I need this done this week. And the mountain is just too much. So you do whatever you can, right? And at the end of the day, you still have to report that out. So, if we bought ourselves some more time by automating other tasks, now maybe it's not a mountain. Maybe we're able to, really focus, because those reports are great. I think automating reports, sending out reports, getting information, but the reports are wrong. I don't care how fast you process them. It's bad. Right. So you
if
brought,
it's wrong, it's worthless.
You brought up an option to extend on a contract that may be out there, something that would continue the contract by paying it some kind of monetary fee or having to do something. But having that wrong information there, or not at all, is either going to miss that contract, or you're going to do something wrong to it, which could cause you to lose that contract at the end of the day. So I love the fact that I think the moral of the story that you're getting at is like giving back time to the people again, so that way they're not having to spend, 20% of their time, 1/5 of their time doing reporting, when you could have just had that done automatically, right? And it's usually just clicking buttons and things that you can train robots to do, or workflow processes to do. I even think of how much time we spend in Excel a lot, and how many little things could be done sometimes to get to a bigger picture stuff. So you're not, having to click all the little buttons, and can it just be automated at the end of the day, or prep 30% of my spreadsheet and let me do the other, 70%, because that's good. But I still killed off 30% of, and that could be a lot of time, even though it's 30% of work. It could be menial time that I'm just not really versed to my talents. I'm better at doing other things, not clicking filters or sorting or creating copies and pastes of things, just to get to the next step.
Yeah, but that's a perfect example. We're in Excel every day. If you're in Excel every day, you're constantly sorting, filtering, and you may be using different spreadsheet from day to day, but you probably revisit the same format or same template multiple times. And so you could do formulas and functions within Excel to help automate things. You've got macros where you can say, oh, you know what? Whenever I get this spreadsheet, I automatically need to sort by column A from lowest to highest, and column B from their last name A to Z. and you could create a macro that automatically sorts that for you right when you open it.
Yeah.
And it just saves you a minute or two, but it saves you that stress, that hassle, that annoyance.
So I think that's pretty cool. Something that you bring up right there is we're not even talking about an alternative software. I mean, just setting up certain things that you can do if you know how to use Excel. And for those people out there that are Excel users, go to YouTube. Go run Excel. There's so many videos of how people are showing how to get shortcuts, do automation. This doesn't require you to buy a software. It doesn't require you to invest any kind of money. It requires you to learn how to teach something that's out there that pretty much almost, I would think almost everybody has Excel at this point in time, right?
Yeah, in the business world, yeah.
The business world, at least. I mean, it's coming with Microsoft 365 at this point in time. It's not like an optional module. Even PowerPoint comes with that type of stuff. So we have stuff that's at our arsenal and that we have ready to go, but we don't need to go out and buy a third party or have an RPA doing that. You can just do it by functionalizing within your software, becoming more efficient with what you have already, right? Yes. And so a lot of that stuff's free, guys, that are out there. You can go YouTube. I know there are some Excel classes on LinkedIn. Get out there and try to find things that can help you become more efficient in your workflow. That's automation too. It's not always about artificial intelligence or some kind of robotic servant that's doing something for us at the end of the day. It could just be rethinking how you're doing stuff or learning a little bit more about your talent and what you're good at, and then setting up processes to make things happen within existing things that you don't have to go to your bosses or don't have to invest into and ask for extra budget.
One of the biggest things for me, you brought up when reports are wrong. And I feel a big sense of ownership, sense of pride in the reports that I create. And I hate somebody finding a problem in it.
Yeah.
So I love conditional formatting because I could put rules in there like this number can't be negative.
Right.
This number can't be higher than that number. I can't have net acres that are higher than my gross acres. And I can set up these rules that do these double checks and highlight potential issues for me. So it just makes it easier for me to double check, because if I got something that's 20 or 30 columns wide and thousands or hundreds or thousands of rows long, it's hard for me to double check things, especially if I didn't even do the data entry.
I've seen we're in triple letters on Excel and we're trying to check every column, every cell. And, is that even possible to be that accurate? It's simple in our life and every day. The report is the final thing delivered. So if I'm at a restaurant, it's my meal, right? I'm not questioning what goes on behind those doors. I'm looking at it, I'm gauging everything on what's presented to me at that point in time. And, that's just how it goes. The other day I was at a restaurant. I won't say the name, but they had a little bit poor kitchen service. Something came out like the tortillas were hard. The oranges smelled a little sour. I was disappointed. The waitress was doing a wonderful job. The server was doing a wonderful job. She even came back and reminded me that when the survey comes up, that it's all about her, not the kitchen staff. She made it a point because she knew I was disappointed about how it had gone down. She knew that I said, you shouldn't serve this type of stuff to people. It's quality control. But that's the same thing to me. If we run a report for a client and we're going to do that at the end of the day, that's what they're presented with. They're going to go with that. And we're the ones who told them it's okay. Just as much as I'm going to trust that the kitchen is not giving me some Fremunda cheese on my sandwich, that they're being clean, that they're taken care of. But do we really get the opportunity to open that door and go check that out? I don't walk into a restaurant kitchen and go, let me see how it looks back there today.
No, we don't.
I go maybe to the bathroom and kind of see those type of things. Maybe I look at the restaurant to see if they're cleaning up and make my decision there. But you could have the cleanest front and the back could be crazy, and that's what we're consuming into our bodies. So, at the end of the day, to me, that's always been what reports are, kind of like in a simple explanation. And just like the person sitting at the table would be upset if they got the wrong food or it was wrong, your clients, your managers, your bosses, yourself will be upset whenever you provide something that's final, that's wrong, when you serve the wrong information out. So take pride in it, take it personal. Those type of things should be good. You may not also be in control of the reporting. Maybe there's other people maybe you control the reporting piece, but you don't control the source information. There's other people down the line that have to feed that report, right? So how many times have you been in an Excel report where you're taking multiple reports from other sources and you're making out the final report for a client? But that's your place.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're having to trust that data came through clean. So we got to look for automation, and we have to look for workflow processes. Even just this morning, I was talking with one of our managers here, and we're reassessing the workflow itself because we believe we can get more efficiency out of something. So how can we do that, and what can we do? It's all about being efficient and using the right tools. Sometimes it's just people don't know where to go. Sometimes they just need a leader. Sometimes you need to give them the tools that they need. And they're ready to go all the time. So you could have a bunch of soldiers ready to fight, but they have no guns and nowhere to go, but they're rearing to go. You know, that's good, but we need to supply them with what they need at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, and that's a perfect transition into the kind of the third opportunity that I presented, which is maybe it's not something simple and repetitive. Maybe it is a really big task, and maybe it is a really dynamic task that something like doing title research through county records. Okay, you're a title professional. You sit down, you're like, okay, I need to look at the documents in this survey and abstract in this county of Texas, or I need to look at the documents for this section, township range in North Dakota. Well, from section to section or survey to survey, you're going to have totally different documents, and they're completely unstructured. There's no real way for you to automate that process end to end. But a big part of that process, one thing you can do is you can break down that large process into its individual steps. And you can say, well, what's the first thing I do? I have to find the documents. Is there a way to automate that?
True.
Okay. Maybe using an online repository helps me that has location information. Okay, what else do I need? I really care about stuff that's related to, I'm starting with a certain oil and gas lease or a certain right of way or a certain deed for a real estate transaction. And I need to find everything related to that. So let me find, the people with the same last name. Any document that references this book and page, we see that a lot, right?
Yes.
Oh, this oil and gas lease references this deed.
Comparative information from one doc to another. Yeah.
And it just kind of spider webs out.
I mean, that's chaining title. That's chaining something.
It is. So we can apply an IDP solution that can extract those things. It's not doing the job of connecting the dots, but it's providing the dots.
Hey, providing the dots is half the battle sometimes.
It's a lot easier to connect the dot than a full Michelangelo Sistine Chapel.
It really is. You're correct. Paint by numbers is easier, right? It may not look as cool, but at the end of the day, I think we're fortunate to have been around long enough in business to go from the paper file, the paper way of doing things, the snail mail way of doing things. And it's funny how much those rules apply to prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. That's always something that I've cut to the back of my mind. And, when I used to work things manually, like gathering in boxes, you have 50 boxes of files that show up. And if you don't organize yourself before you jump into the work and you just start pulling one file at a time out of the boxes, you're in just chaos world. And you're going to mess up. You're going to have issues. You're going to have to relate something within another box to that first file you worked on 6 months ago. And then you come across something that affects that. And do you remember, So if you were to sit down and do the organization, which is, I used to do it, I would spend days prepping before I would do data entry into something, because then my data entry would go more smooth. My relatable documents were together. I had to do all that with my eyeballs. And you're talking about with tech today, you have scanned documents in clouds, servers, you have ability of IDP extracting information. The same things that I used to do, like taking one file and seeing where a counter file goes to, or an additional file that relates to that file, like you're talking about book and page, releases, situations that have to do with locations, information, whatever it may be. I would sit down and sift through all that and put it all in piles and then work them into a system. And you're talking about doing some of that with technology now that you wouldn't have to do all that, and with digital files. So there is nothing to grab.
Yeah, OCR it and get it processed through an IDP solution and have it start grouping things together for you.
Man, that's it starts grouping things together for you. That's the way it should be.
And then you still do your job. You're still doing the big, creative part of it.
Sure. You still have to go through it. You still got to validate it. You still have to see where, things that came from the technology solution may be correct, incorrect, or partial. Let's not forget that IDP requires OCR. OCR requires a good quality document. A poor quality document will not let you do step 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
So at some point there, the human has to come in and be the solution. Other points you have human hybrid technology. Other points the technology is doing it. And, until you work it, you really don't know. Over time with experience, you can, say, well, I think this is what's going to happen and give it a try. But there still be maybe the situation. I still think that the human has to be involved, the human in the loop situation. I don't understand why we have to explain that human in the loop because we're the humans. It should be more like tech in the loop.
It should be. It should be.
But we like to add human in the loop to our technology. Yeah. Even though our technology says, look, this car will park itself. This technology will tell you when you got in a car crash. Really? Does it really all the time? Or are there those false flags? And as a human, we can say, no, stop that situation. Because we have the conscious and the continuity to pull that off at the end of the day. So,
and then the other big one is, what would you push on to somebody else? And the easiest, aside from that, just being a question that you ask yourself, but what work are you avoiding? Like, what is it that you're like, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do X.
Yeah, right.
I've got to do X, Y, and Z. Y will go last.
Yeah.
Like that work there. Okay, is there a way to get rid of that, to automate that out? A couple weeks ago, we showed one of our RPA bots demonstration where it was Uema and I going over GIS files and GIS map updates, and a bot that would automatically go and download new shape files from the Colorado state website and bring those into a map and generate a new map. And it's like, okay, well, that's just an annoying thing to spend 30 minutes of my life on every day.
Yeah, it's annoying for me to delete emails every day.
Yeah.
I would. Let's build a bot that gets rid of all the ones I don't want.
Email filters. Email filters are automation.
That's true.
When you can put it and say, I don't care about this email, have it go away. I use a program called Unroll Me, which goes through my emails and finds unsubscribe buttons and just shows me a list of, hey, you got all these emails today that give you an option to unsubscribe. Any of them you want to unsubscribe from? And then I get fewer and fewer emails out of it because I can go unsubscribe and they'll unsubscribe me.
There you go. Yeah. Sometimes you have to just spend time saying that's junk.
Yes.
Instead of just clicking delete.
Yep.
I was getting I've recently put some information out on the internet to apply for some things and shopping. And of course, now I'm getting junk mail from some of that. And I've seen it on TV too. A military camp has a water problem and they're suing them at this point in time. I won't say the names as we're live and all that stuff. I'm not a veteran. I never went to this camp, but I get about 4 or 5 emails a day about this lawsuit. And so I was deleting. And finally, I just started going, why am I deleting? I need to work my process and go in there, click the email because I'm doing it anyways to delete it and go flag as junk. And you know what? Now they're not showing up anymore. Yep. My email provider is stopping them from coming through because it's just spam. That's really all it is at the end of the day. Yep. But I needed to take that step instead of me doing another step, which was just get it out of my way.
Yeah.
But it kept coming up every day, even on the weekends. And now it doesn't come up at all. Now my emails are more focused. Now my brain is more focused. When I log in, I'm not sifting through 50 things to get to the 1 or 2 things I really want.
Yeah, it does take longer to set up the automation than it took to do the job. But by automating it, you now have to do that task less.
Yeah.
And so it's a return on investment over time. And that return on investment over time might be one time. Like it could be real fast, or it might take a little bit longer.
Depending on what you're doing, that one time may be valuable to you. If it's a project situation or something that is big or a one-time scale. On the flip side, there's anywhere in between and all the way to daily grind type of stuff that you can fix. So I think the moral of our story today is, there's lots of different ways. What are the 3 ways you came up with? We'll kind of review that again.
Look for the simple, repetitive, boring stuff. All right. look for the hard things that are big, long processes that can be broken down to smaller parts, and then look for what you would want to give to somebody else that had your same skill set if you could.
If you could replicate yourself,
yes,
right, and have it giving that information. So, I mean, that's great to think about. And however you go about that, there's a plethora of ways to do it. Sometimes just look back on your workflow. Are you doing something efficiently? Can you redo something like what I did with my email? Quit deleting it and start marking it as junk.
Yep.
It worked. Got that out of my way, and now I have a result for it. Should you go out there and buy software that's going to help you do things? Learn a new trade. How about using your existing stuff to make it better? Educating yourself a little bit more. A lot of times automation comes from just more knowledge. And then not only that, but tools that you have. And if you know how to use a tool, you're going to become faster and better. It's going to make your workflow better. It's going to automate your situation. Nobody wants to build a fence with a hammer and nail. It'd be better. It's funner to do it with a drill and some screws.
Yep.
Quicker, faster, and over time, more reliable. I don't know. I don't build fences, but I would think that it would be.
Yeah. Or at least a nail gun. Just go faster.
I mean, maybe. Is there a reason why I never see that out there?
Yeah.
But I can tell you.
Fences either.
So for the fence people, don't hold us to it at the end of the day. But to me, it's just, swinging a hammer sounds a lot longer and more time because I've hammered nails than it is just to drill it and I'm done. And that's always how it's been. So, sit back and look at your workflow. Look at what you can do. If you guys want to talk to us about automation, you want to, have these conversations, feel free to reach us out through LinkedIn, YouTube, get a hold of Kyle and myself. We'd love to talk to anybody about any kind of automation, even if it's just talking through what you're doing with something. Sometimes we can sit down and look at something and find those things. Talking to a third party, go to your coworkers, go up to your boss. Don't be scared to say, "Hey, boss, I want to relook at what I'm doing." And that's I always tell people as a business owner and as a boss, the only dumb question you can ask me is no question at all.
Yeah.
I don't ever persecute anybody if they say I want to rethink something or learn something or say I'm not sure how to do this. And so many people are scared to do that. Yeah. So get out there, put yourself out there and learn from other people. That's workflow automation as well.
Yeah, it's only a bad manager that would tell somebody who comes to them, "Hey, I want to do better at my job." No, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a good situation.
I'm not sure how to do this, but I want to get better at my job. You don't know how to do something?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a bad manager out there, guys. So if you're a manager doing that, stop. Okay. Watch a little Gary Vee, go out there, Tony Robbins, somebody, get a little action on how to handle people. But at the end of the day, if you give your people the tools and the need and the knowledge, you're going to find workflows are more efficient and more automated and more easier process. And what you get served at the end, those reports, that information that you're sending in, that's the stuff that you're going to have that's accurate. Hey, that makes me happy when I'm able to turn in good information to my clients or run my business efficiently with good quality information.
Me too.
All right, guys. So Man versus Tech, another Wednesday in the books. We will be back every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. You can always, if you didn't join live, watch us on the stream. We're on LinkedIn. All the ones are out there. Take a look at it. You don't have to join at 11 a.m. Do it at your own time. Enjoy yourself. Everybody have a wonderful week. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.